He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
The ad the Biden campaign released on social media on Veterans Day. Just ahead, we're going to play for you the message former President Trump was given on the same day. Joe, powerful. There's a lot of Trump's words that can be used against him.
You're exactly right, Mika. The strongest campaign ads are the ads like the one you just saw that doesn't make any commentary, doesn't try to convince the viewer or the voter of anything. It uses the words of the opponent to drive the message home. I think it's a brilliant ad. I think we'll see the same thing because the Biden administration the Biden campaign's already started doing it, using Donald Trump's own words on abortion against him. And you don't have to, Jonathan, I know you've heard this as well from the administration. They're saying we don't have to even talk about abortion. All we have to do is just play one clip of Donald Trump after another clip of Donald Trump after another clip of Donald Trump saying he was the one that killed Roe v. Wade. He was the one that terminated women's choice. He was the one that was responsible for 10-year-old girls having to flee the state after they had been raped. He was the one. He's taking credit for the horrors of women bleeding out, not being able to get treatment from their doctors because of what Donald Trump did. I mean, it's so powerful. And you know, the line from that Veterans Day ad that really, really brings it home is when Donald Trump is asking about a fallen American hero. And he says, I don't get it. What was in it for him? That explains everything, doesn't it? About Donald Trump. All you need to know about Donald Trump, how selfish, how craven, how shallow, how un-American. Let me say it, how un-American he is when it comes to the things he says about our fallen soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines.
Yeah, we also have reporting about how Trump didn't want veterans who had visible wounds or amputations to be part of military ceremonies in his presence. We also know he said something similar to his chief of staff, John Kelly. Kelly's son was killed in combat overseas, and the former president said to him, well, it wasn't worth it, was it? Or something along those lines. But back to the abortion issue, Joe, you're certainly right that this is we're still not sure quite what last week's election means for the 2024 campaign, but we do know this: abortion is going to be front and center yet again, and it's a huge winning issue for Democrats, Reverend Sharpton. Certainly, the White House aides and campaign officials have been stressing to me in recent days, we're going to put this at the forefront. We're going to not let Donald Trump run away from it because we feel like Trump has tried. Trump has distanced himself at times from the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe. We're not going to let him do that. Now, let's be clear. The president himself has admitted he's not super comfortable talking about abortion, but the vice president has stepped up, and she's become a powerful voice on this.
No, I think Vice President Harris has been a tremendous voice in this. And when you look at the Ohio vote, where you had a vote earlier this year where they had to campaign and tell people that wanted to preserve women's right to choose, vote no. And then they tried to shrewdly turn it now where you had to vote yes in this election last Tuesday. So the people that were trying to preserve the women's right to choose had to do a real thorough job of telling voters that they had convinced to vote no a few months ago to vote yes here. And they did it, which shows how the public is really, really on the side of reproductive rights. And I think that is something, when you play the Trump statements about what he has said and what he has done down there, that's easy. The problem is that his voters, many of them are cult followers. We played them videos of him talking about grabbing a woman's privates, and they still voted for him. So we're not going to flip them. We may deal with independents, people that are uncomfortable with other things.
But Joe, I want to go back to something you were saying earlier, because we've become so desensitized as a nation, on no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. January 6th, election denying, stealing documents, the major indictments against this president doesn't seem to turn Republicans in Congress or doesn't get the presidential candidates energized on the stage except for one. And I just, how is it that these Republicans in Congress and some in the Senate and these presidential candidates can stand by and say nothing about a man who would say something like that about our veterans? What was in it? About our dead soldiers? What was in it for them? They're losers. Yeah. Like, how do we go on without just asking about that? I know sort of like the litmus test was the election stolen? There are a million others. Things like that Donald Trump has said. The cruelty is the point. It leads to authoritarianism. It leads to what he wants to do to our government. And if you don't want to believe that, that's fine. But let me ask you, Republican in that audience or in Congress or on the debate stage, can you stand by and support a man who would say that about our veterans? I want that question asked. Why are they given a pass?
They're not given a pass.
Well, they're not asked about it, and it just goes by.
They're always asked, how could you support Donald Trump to be nominee? And the answer is they can't say the truth. The fact is they're craven. They're craven for power. They're scared of Donald Trump's base, and they won't tell the truth. They won't speak truth to power. We've seen it time and again. David French had a great op-ed talking about Mike Johnson, the new speaker, saying, I just follow what the Bible says. Mm-hmm. And David French said, well, no, actually, you do the opposite of that because you got to power by lying. In fact, you embrace the big lie. That's what you're known the most for in the United States Congress, that you led. Ken Paxton's lawsuit that was just a crazy, we talked about crazy conspiracy theories, but Mike Johnson was so craven for power, he was so desperate for power, that he actually embraced the big lie. Nothing biblical about that. But as David French said, he did it because he craved power so much. And that's, again, that's why he was there. But, Elise Jordan, you look, I really do. I think the White House is really onto something, because I believe Mika's right. There's so many things that don't break through, but using somebody's words against them, that breaks through. The simplicity of it breaks through all the noise. Happened there. But you look at the issue of abortion, I believe it will be Donald Trump's own words that ultimately bring him down when historians look back and say, why couldn't anybody stop this guy in the Republican Party? Why did he maintain control of a party for so long? And why couldn't they stop? Then they can say, well, what brought him down? I think it's going to be his words. You look at what abortion has done, what Donald Trump's actions have done for Republicans, whether it's judicial candidates in Wisconsin, whether it's Senate and House candidates in Virginia, whether it's a referendum in Ohio, whether it's, from Kentucky to Ohio to Wisconsin to Kansas, all the way over to Virginia. This is gutting Republicans in the middle of America. And Donald Trump's the guy that's bragging, I killed Roe v. Wade. I terminated a woman's right to choose. I think the Biden team's onto something. I think this is what guts Donald Trump politically.